cop pulls over a car, but his life changes when the driver rolls down his window. Little did he know that this routine traffic stop would turn his life upside down. As he approached the car, he noticed that the driver was a middle-aged man, but there was something about him that looked eerily familiar. The man handed over his license and registration, but Trooper Patterson's mind was elsewhere. He couldn't shake off the feeling that he had seen this man before. Suddenly, it hit him like a ton of bricks. The driver's name was Matthew Bailey, a retired police officer from Piscataway, New Jersey. Trooper Patterson was taken aback and couldn't believe his eyes. It turned out that 27 years ago, when Trooper Patterson was just a baby, Bailey had delivered him at home during an emergency birth. Trooper Patterson couldn't believe the coincidence, and Bailey was equally shocked and emotional. The chance encounter between Trooper Patterson and Matthew Bailey is a heartwarming story that reminds us of the unexpected connections that can be made in our lives. As Trooper Patterson approached Matthew's car, he had no idea that he was about to meet someone who would change his life forever. The two men bonded over the shared experience of being police officers, and it was clear that they had a deep respect for each other's service to the community. But it was the conversation about their personal lives that brought them even closer together. As Michael Patterson was out patrolling the highway one hot summer day, looking for people speeding or driving recklessly, when he noticed a suspicious vehicle passing by. The white BMW was tinted so darkly that he could barely see who was inside. Patterson pulled over the car, not knowing that this simple traffic stop could lead to a life-changing discovery about the man behind the wheel. The trooper got out of his vehicle and approached the tinted car to see a middle-aged man behind the wheel. The driver said he was unsure why he had been stopped by the highway trooper. So Patterson proceeded to explain why he had pulled him over. He explained that the driver's window tints were against New Jersey law and that he had noticed them as the car passed by. The driver admitted that he was a bit embarrassed about the entire situation, considering who he was. The driver of the tinted vehicle introduced himself as Matthew and explained that while he really loved his job as a police officer, he ultimately made the decision to retire. Matthew was looking forward to enjoying his life outside of the police force and to see what would come in the next few years. As the two continued to talk, Officer Patterson began to realize that Matthew was not just any retired police officer. Matthew shared a memory with Patterson about a particularly crazy circumstance that he found himself in once and decided to share it with the officer who pulled him over. The incident Matthew began to unveil had occurred in a New Jersey town called Piscataway, in the area where he used to be stationed on patrol. Coincidentally, Patterson explained that his mother and the rest of his family still lived in Piscataway, and he went there often to visit the hometown. This coincidence caught Patterson's attention even more about this retired police officer and his background, and he listened intently as Matthew continued to recall this particularly eventful experience. During that particular night in Piscataway, Matthew was patrolling around the relatively small town, much like Patterson had been doing that day. Suddenly, he got a call over his radio, and it was for an emergency situation. When he arrived on the scene, he found a woman in labor who was about to give birth. As the only officer on duty, Matthew had to act fast. He knew he had to help deliver the baby because there was no time to wait for an ambulance to arrive. Matthew described the experience as both nerve-wracking and exhilarating. He had never delivered a baby before, but he knew what he had to do. He helped the woman through the delivery process and then stayed with her until the ambulance arrived. As he was driving back to the station, he couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. He had helped bring a new life into the world, and he knew that he would never forget that experience. As the conversation between Patterson and Matthew continued, Patterson started to feel a sense of connection to the retired officer. They spoke about their educations, their units, and anything two police officers could bond over regarding their careers. Over the period of a police officer's career, he or she can witness some pretty high adrenaline situations. The two started telling each other stories about the unusual things that they both have witnessed. Patterson was amazed at how much they had in common. He had gone into police training because of an incident in his past and grew up respecting officers for their hard work. He always knew that he wanted to help people and make a difference in his community. Meeting someone like Matthew, who had dedicated his life to serving others, was a real honor for him.